Daddyman.
Hey there, Kitchen Mutants. It is Friday night. I am your favorite daddy man in the kitchen, and that can only mean one thing. That's right, it is time once again for Mutant Cafe. Welcome back to the kitchen. Thank you so much for joining us again tonight. And I would like to thank you because it's a special night tonight. We are starting a new series here in the kitchen. It is Friday Night TV Dinners. We've taken some suggestions that y'all had and some of my ideas for your favorite childhood Friday night, Saturday night comfort food, and we're going to recreate all those classics right here in the kitchen. And it's also exciting because tonight is the season 2 premiere of Friday Night Frights. That's right, myself and Frank from MutantFam.com and Chris from Mutant Theater 2 and the entire gang from the Monster Movie Happy Hour. We're back again for season 2 of Friday Night Frights, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's get to that recipe. It is the premiere night of the Friday Night TV Dinner series, and we are doing my favorite from the series, Spaghettios, but they're not out of a can. That's right, we are making them from scratch. They are just as delicious, if not a little bit more, than what you get out of that can, but they don't have that funny tin can taste, nor do they have all of the preservatives. It's pretty much all natural here on this table. So we got a lot to do. Let's get started, as we always do, with that ingredient list. We're gonna start with 8 tablespoons of butter. We use unsalted here, that way you can control the salt content in the end result. We're doing 2 cloves of garlic. We've got 1 medium onion. We've talked about it before. I like the yellow Vidalia. 4 tablespoons of tomato paste, and that's basically a 6-ounce can. These are pretty standard size. You're gonna want 24 ounces of tomato puree, and again, we've talked about this. Use the best you can find. I like the ones that say imported from Italy. Those Italian tomatoes are delicious. You're gonna want your salt and pepper, fresh ground black pepper, and I use the sea salt. You're gonna need 3 tablespoons of sugar. Yes, tablespoons of sugar. A lot of your traditional pasta recipes for the sauce have just a slight amount of sugar in them to balance out the acidity of the tomatoes. 3 tablespoons is kind of a lot, but if you think back in your memory, those Spaghettios are slightly sweet, probably why we as kids, and maybe your kids today, love them so much. 1 pound of ground beef. Go ahead and use something with the lowest fat content because we're using, like I said, a stick of butter in here, so you don't need that extra grease, but feel free if you want. 1 pound of ditalini pasta. That is what is in the recipe. That is what is in the photo. I was lucky enough to happen upon these great little O's. This says Anelli Sicilian number 60A. All pastas, if you really look at them, have a number and letter combination. That is the universal, I guess, code for the pasta cut and shape and size. These happen to just be little O's, so I'm going to use those tonight, but please feel free. The ditalini is just as good and does the same thing. And then you're also going to need 1 cup of parm to finish that off. You should have a big pot of rolling boiled water going, and make sure it's nice and well salted. We've talked about that before. You want to salt that pasta. We salt every part of the process to keep everything flavorful and delicious. All right, so let's get some of this out of the way. As we do, full table again. All right, we're gonna start by putting 2 tablespoons into that pan. There we go. Start getting that melted. Get these pot holders out of the way. We're also gonna start with this onion, and we want this in a very fine dice. Now, if you are uncomfortable with your knife skills, or you are uncomfortable trying to get an onion diced down really super small, go ahead and feel free, pardon me for 1 second, pulling out just a little yuck out of that core of that onion. There we go. Feel free to go ahead and use a box grater and do it on the smallest side, and go ahead and just grate it right into the pan. That's not a problem at all. The reason we're going so small with this is if you think back, or maybe you don't have to think back far, to the last time you had Spaghettios, that sauce is nice and smooth. There are onions in the ingredients, trust me, but again, it's probably pulverized down into a paste, so you don't have onions in the sauce. When you're taking a bite, you're not really biting into any kind of onions. So again, nice and tiny with this dice. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with the garlic. Really, really tiny with your dice. Because again, you don't want to bite down into onions. This is a kid's meal, quote unquote, or a kids at heart meal. So, you know, kids don't like onions a lot of times. And they're just not, they're very textual. Specific, let me say. A lot of kids don't like bold flavors, and they don't like to bite down into squishy things, or, you know, especially like an onion taste. So that's why we're going super small with that. That's why I think the Spaghettio folks, Chef Boyardee, probably went small with that. Okay, we're gonna go onions in pan. That's a little high, you can hear that sizzling up. I'm gonna turn it down just a touch. You don't want to brown these onions, you just want them softened for about 2 minutes. Same thing with the butter, don't brown that butter. Just melted, there we go. And as you know, we add something to the pan, it cools it down right away. There we go, all right. Get the second half going. This is a super, super meal. Now, is it as easy as opening a can and throwing it in a pan and heating it up, or throwing it in a bowl and putting it in the microwave? No. You are going to spend, you know, that takes what, 3-4 minutes? 5 minutes maybe at tops? You're going to spend about 25 minutes doing this, 30 minutes. But A, your friends, your family are going to be unbelievably impressed that you were able to make Spaghettios at home that, like I said, are much more flavorful, and you don't have all those ingredients that are 30 letters long and you have no idea what they mean. So it's healthier, you know, a little sugar, whatever. It's healthier, it's more flavorful, and in my opinion, it's actually more economical. This is only about $15 worth of ingredients at the most, and you're feeding 6 to 8 people here if you throw some bread in and a little salad. Oh, there we go. Get the butter, or get the onions on the table and in the pan. No big deal. Panic. Get it picked up right there in the pan. No big deal. Alright. Again, keep stirring that around. We're just trying to soften it up. We're not really trying to add any color. Okay, and then we're going to do the exact same thing with that garlic, which is easier because they're small. Now normally I would want way more garlic in my pasta sauce. But again, we're going for a sweeter flavor here, and we're thinking about the kids. Kids are not super garlic friendly a lot of times, so we're just going 2 cloves, 2 medium cloves, 1 large clove, 3 small cloves. So what I did is I diced that up. Get the second one really quick. And then to make sure that it stays small enough, once I get this one done, we're just gonna run the knife across that just a couple more times, because again, you want this nice and small. You want a smooth tomato sauce when you're done. Okay. See how easy that is? Easy peasy. In the pan. Okay. We are done cutting. Alright, that is really kind of the hardest part of this whole entire dish, unless you count making meatballs hard, which is not. Okay, let's get that going here. And I'm going to skip around a little in the recipe. My recipe has you doing the pasta towards the end, which is fine, but I'd rather have my pasta kind of waiting for me. So I'm going to get these in the water right now while that goes for 1 more minute. Okay, that pasta in hot water. That is definitely boiling. Awesome. Okay, get it up on high and get that boiling. Next, we're going to put 2 teaspoons of salt on that ground beef. Then we're just going to kind of incorporate that in. Just a little bit of salt to give it some flavor. And that's it for your meatballs. This is such a basic recipe. In fact, there's not even any herbs and spices in this. And again, I think it's because it's a kid's meal. Kids are not real big on strong flavors. They just want the basics. So, obviously, this is basic, all right? Salt and meat. All right, so we're gonna leave that aside for a second because our onions are done. Yeah, onions are done. They're just translucent, okay? Nice and cooked and translucent. A little bit of browning going on, which is fine. That tells you they're ready. So next thing's next. We are going to get that tomato paste in the pan. Again, that's a whole can here. The reason you're using tomato paste and the crushed tomatoes or the tomato puree, tomato paste has a really strong, concentrated tomato flavor. That's going to give you that nice underbelly of tomato taste. And we're just going to stir that around with the onions. Basically what we're doing is we're coating those onions with the tomato paste in that nice hot pan, and it's going to essentially start frying the tomato paste, just deepening up that flavor that's already so tasty. Tomatoes, come on. They boil down those tomatoes, they pull out all those skins, and they just keep boiling and boiling and boiling until a lot of the liquid is gone out of the tomatoes. Tomatoes are mostly liquid. You pull it all out, you get this nice tomato paste. All right, we're also going to add in the rest of that butter. Told you there's a lot of butter in there. There's a whole stick we just put in there. Okay. And we're going to fry that up for about 2 minutes. Here, kind of frying. There we go. Delicious. Yum. Smell the butter hitting that tomatoes. Almost smells like a tomato soup already. Okay. So we're going to just let that fry for a minute. I'm going to add just a little bit of pepper. A little bit of salt. Fry away. While that's frying, let's keep going with these meatballs. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to take a nice pinch, roll it in your hand, and there's your meatball. You only want to go about that big. Don't go much bigger than that. Okay? Think about, again, the Spaghettios. Tiny little bites, because again, these are for tiny little mouths originally. Honestly, I think more adults did eat Spaghettios than kids. This was the original Spaghettios. Then they started all the animal flavor or shaped pasta and all that fun stuff. Check that pasta really quick. Give it a nice stir. Yep, it's boiling up again. That pasta stops boiling when you throw it in there, that water. So we're gonna hit timer. We're gonna go 9 minutes. Okay. Let's give this a nice stir. Make sure we're frying up here. Yep. Nice. Okay. Next, sugar. It's a lot of sugar, I know. It is a sweet dish. You can cut it back if you want to, but honestly, the sweetness is what really makes it that Spaghettio sauce. Let's get the tomatoes in there. All that tomato goodness in there. it up. Get it all really well combined. And then last but not least, half a cup of water, just to thin all those tomatoes out. Now yes, we're going to cook it down and thicken it back up, but you want to thin it out now so everything can get nicely combined. Okay. Ow. Hot. All right. Back to the meatballs. This is repetitive. You're just going to keep taking pinches and rolling. And now that we got the sauce, you can just throw the meatballs right in. Because they're going to cook in that sauce, which is what makes the meatballs so delicious. That's why we don't put a lot of flavoring in these meatballs, because they're going to pick up all that tomato flavor. This is very repetitive. So what we're going to do for the next couple minutes is we're going to talk about Friday Night Frights. For those of you that are not familiar with Friday Night Frights, it is something that group that I just announced at the top of the show, we all got together and saw how sad, quite frankly, the Mutant family and all the fans of The Last Drive-In were, that The Last Drive-In was over last season. So we decided it was time to pull ourselves together and create a Friday night that could maybe be close to as good as The Last Drive-In. It'll never be The Last Drive-In because we don't have Joe Bob, and we don't have Darcy, and we don't have Ernie, and we don't have Brennan playing the guitar. There's a lot missing that's not included from The Last Drive-In. But we do have a lot to offer. So we got together because we each have our strengths. We figured why not pull them together and put together a whole entire Friday night of content. So what it is this. Obviously, you're watching me right now on the YouTube channel, and we're making dinner, okay? And what goes better with dinner but a cocktail? So of course, we had to invite our mutant bartenders, the folks over at the Monster Movie Happy Hour. They know what they're talking about when we're talking about cocktails. And they are going to be making a signature cocktail every single week to go with the movies. All right. A lot of times mine will go with the movies that we're watching, like tonight. Sometimes it won't, but you're still gonna get your dinner in, and then you're gonna get your cocktails. All right. So that's right after this. You're going to jump over to their YouTube channel and watch their awesome cocktail video. Man, are they creative. I'm boring. I just stand there and cook. They do some crazy stuff. They got sets and props and costumes and storylines. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. So make sure, even if you're not a drinker or even if you're not making the cocktail, make sure you jump over there and watch them because it's totally a blast and worth watching. Then at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, which is 5 o'clock Pacific Time, you are going to press play on Mutant Theater 2, Mutant Theater, that's their Twitter, Mutant Theater 2, their first movie. They've got a double feature movie night planned. It's always two movies, 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. And the movies are streaming on all of the, or one of, or several of the major streaming outlets. They're very conscious of making sure that you can grab it, which would be Shudder, Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, I think is where they try to stick. Occasionally we'll grab one on Vudu or another free app like that. Or you might have your own copy. Regardless, just make sure you press play at 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. That way you're in sync with the rest of the Mutant fam where we are on the movie. Okay? And then, if that wasn't enough for your entertainment, we also, at midnight, over at Mutant Theater, mutantfam.com, they are going to be doing an awesome, they did it last year and they're doing it again this year, they're doing the Midnight Marathon. Now last year that meant it was a combination of movies or movie reviews, a lot of YouTube content that had to do with horror movies, movie reviews. They did a lot of short films. They did all kinds of different stuff. Well, this year, and you knew ahead of time what we were watching. This year, Frank decided to throw a little wrench in that, and he is going to surprise us. Ooh, let's get that heat down. Bubbling, bubbling. He's going to surprise us every single week. We are not going to know what we're watching. And I'll let him do the details because he told me about it and I'm confused because it's technological strangeness and I'm getting old and having problems keeping up with the technology. But there's a system that you're going to use. You're just going to log into that system and you're going to be able to watch all his content live. You're not going to have to keep press and play and start and anything like that. It's all going to be there for you. There's a chat room. You're going to get to talk. So that's midnight. And I'm not sure when that ends. It's probably going to vary every week like it did last year. It's just a full night. I mean, sometimes he would go until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It just depends on what he has planned and how long you could stay awake. So that is the entire Friday Night Frights. It starts right here with dinner. Then it goes over to Monster Movie Happy Hour on their YouTube channel and their cocktail. Then it goes to the 2 Mutant Theater movies. And then after that, it is the Midnight Marathon Mystery. There, and look at that. You are almost done making your meatballs in that little tiny introduction. And as I said, we are bubbling here quite a bit. Got my meatballs going. And they're cooking down nicely. You can see that they're changing color, which is exactly what you want to happen. They're going from that uncooked kind of red meat color to that nice brown color. They're also covered with all that tomato sauce, which is awesome. Okay. We got about 2 minutes left on the pasta. So the reason I came up with this whole Friday night TV dinners is I have a very fond memory. When we were younger, but especially when I got a little older and my brother was still a little younger, we didn't have a babysitter, but even when we did have a babysitter, my parents would definitely go out a couple times a month on a Friday or a Saturday, and it was bonanza time for the kids, right? Because you're getting a babysitter or you get to be by yourself. And that was one of the few nights that my mom would let us pick out one of these TV dinners or Spaghettios or Le Choy. I loved Le Choy chop suey in a can. And you got to pick what you were having for dinner. I mean, how often do you get to do that as a kid? Not very often in my house. My parents, cooked what they needed to cook to get stuff done during the week. But because they were going out, it was for us. So we would set up those TV trays. Yes, TV trays. For those of you youngsters, we had TV trays. And we would set up those TV trays. And after they were gone, we would pop, our food in the oven or in the microwave, wherever it went. Once microwaves came around, yes, I'm around from pre-microwave days. And we would get to do our own dinner, and it was great because we used to watch TNT. They used to show all kinds of Bugs Bunny cartoons and stuff like that for a couple hours, and then we would go into the monster movies or the sci-fi movies or the movies like that. And definitely Joe Bob when he was on TNT. That's kind of where I met Joe Bob, was from these Friday and Saturday nights. So that's where this series came from, that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling that I have in my head from remembering the parents' night out and getting to make my own meals. So hopefully you guys will feel the same when you're trying these dishes. All right. Sound means this pasta's done. So let's check it out over here. Let me grab these awesome pot holders from Tales from the Stitch. Thank you. All right, yep, just a bit underdone, which is what we're looking for. Put this here, I'm gonna drain these and bring them right over to the pan. Right over to the pan. And they're still just a tiny bit wet, which is fine. We've talked about that before. Pasta water is great for thinning this sauce out just a touch. All those little O's. Love it, love it, love it. Whole pound right in there. Okay, perfect. Now, let's get these incorporated. Gently, just kind of stir. Pasta in, and we're going to cook it the last minute or so here. Okay. Look at that. Looks totally like Spaghettios. There ain't no uh-oh here. I don't know why they uh-oh Spaghettios. I don't remember exactly why that was their theme. Uh-oh isn't all that great. Uh-oh Spaghettios? This is Spaghettios. at that. Delicious, perfect proportion of pasta to sauce. Because let's face it, we were all about the meatballs and the pasta, right? Not the sauce per se. There we go, perfect. All right, we got a cup of parm here, so we're just gonna put a little bit of that parm in there now. Save a little bit for the top. Okay. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. This just kind of makes it a little creamy. We're gonna let this cook down just for a minute. How awesome is that? Meatballs are nice and cooked through. In fact, I'm gonna try one just to make sure. Pull one out here. Yep, nice and cooked through. Oh man, that sauce is so good. It tastes just like Spaghettios. Little sweet, nice tomato taste. Alright, look at that. So you can let this cook. You can turn it way down on low and let it sit for up to a half an hour, You might have to put just a little bit of water in there to thin it out. So it could definitely be done ahead if you've got things going on. You can grab a bowl here. A spoon. Let's get some of this served up. Oh, so good. Tomato smell is delicious. You're not going to miss the herbs here. There's so much going on with that deep tomato flavor, and you browned all that tomato paste, so it's got that nice kind of deep, almost nutty kind of taste coming from that butter that you kind of browned up a little bit. Let's get some meatballs on top. And there you go, folks. You did it. Man, just a little over a half an hour, you made Spaghettios. Yes, it's quicker in a can, but trust me, it does not taste like this. There you go, folks. Those are your Spaghettios. You did it. It is the first night of Friday Night Frights, and you made Spaghettios. Amazing. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy the rest of Friday Night Frights. I'm gonna put a little bit of parm on there. Oh, so good. I hope you enjoy the rest of Friday Night Frights, and I hope you join us again next Friday for our Friday night TV dinner series. If you like this one, please keep tuning in because we've got some amazing stuff coming up that I think you are gonna love. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. I really appreciate it, and please enjoy your Spaghettios. Thanks again for joining.